What's going on, beautiful people? Coming back to you with another one, and this one is on time. This is going to be chapter 9, 10 discussion. One of those. All right, got 10 discussion topics we're going to go over here. Number one, what is a co-culture that you belong to? So I belong to a co-culture of licensed irrigators in the state of Texas. So it's a subculture of the green industry, landscaping. And then next Tuesday, which I'll be late for class, but I have an all-day class to get I have to get so many CEUs. Continuing education units every year to keep my license up. So I got to go to that next Tuesday. Number two, now that you've learned the difference between enculturation and acculturation, can you think of your own examples to explain both concepts? So to me, enculturation for me was it's the way you're raised. So I was raised open doors, use my manners, and just kind of, I guess you say, Southern hospitality. That was instilled in me as a very young age. And then acculturation is when you move, you go somewhere else and you try to adapt to the cultural differences that you see. And so when I lived in South Louisiana for a little bit, and I would always notice when people from out of state or out of town would come in and, talking to them, I've got an East Texas drawl to my voice. You know I'm not from South Louisiana. But when people would talk to me, they would sound one way. And then when someone with a Cajun accent would come around and start talking, they would respond to them kind of like with a Cajun accent, and it sounded weird sometimes. So, but that's them trying to fit in that culture. Number three, when to read a narrative in the textbook, can you relate to his experience in any way? What are some ways that can potentially avoid cultural misunderstandings? So I think it's kind of a Southern culture thing. It may not be, but I was taught that you're never to start eating a meal until everybody at the table, no matter how big the table, has been served. And so that's just something I was always. And so when I bounced around, when I was ward of the state, I was the last one to start eating because I didn't know if that was something that family I was staying with, that's something they went by. As I got older and had my oldest, one time we were out at a restaurant with friends and family, but she got in her place, she was sitting around, I said, hey, hold on, let everybody get their food first. And a lady that was friends of a friend, I didn't know her personally at the time, but she had leaned over and she said, that's good manner, that's good Southern hospitality. So that's something I always, I told my kids now, when you go somewhere, be the last one to start eating. That way, you're for sure everybody else is eating, you're good to go, you can start eating. Number 4. The way we communicate in the United States may not go over well with people from other cultures, traditional first-generation people that have moved here. We may also perceive the behaviors of those from other cultures inaccurately because of a lack of cultural awareness of ourselves. What differences of this type have you personal experience with? Which have you heard about and were surprised by? When I was manager of South Texas, Corpus Christi, I had a good friend there, at the time. We were just getting to know each other, co-workers. He was from Pakistan. Very nice, polite guy. But when he got excited or angry, he was having a conversation with you, he'd get right there with you. He got in your space. And so one day he did it to me, and I kind of, stepped back and said, hey man, I can hear you from right there. You ain't got to come. And he kind of apologized, and he said the way he was raised and where they're from was, like, you get close, like it means something to them. And so now every time I see him, I always kind of come up and I get real close to him, and we start talking, and we laugh about it now. But it's me letting him know that I get it where he's coming from, and it's not going to bother me. Number 5, we had to read another narrative. How might asexuality influence a romantic relationship in ways that are potentially positive or challenging? This one's kind of, to me, intimacy, when it comes to the sexual side of intimacy, it's important in a relationship. It's just, to me, it's important to go through a relationship. I read the narrative. He said he'd be fine never doing that again. That would be, I don't know how you could show the other person fully that that you want to give yourself to them, especially in marriage. So, but one of the challenging but positive things was it would make you create ways of, without getting sexually intimate, of getting close to that person, knowing everything about them. And you could, and I'm sure you could probably bond on at a very high level, maybe even higher in certain aspects of an intimate relationship. So, not something I've ever really thought about, but let's see. Number 6, read the material about biological sex and gender identity. What are your definitions for, understanding of, terms for biological sex, intersex, gender identity, cisgender, non-binary, transgender? Why would it be important to know and understand these terms? So, I'm just going to, biological, that's how you were born. Intersex is being born with both. Cisgender, non-binary, transgender, it's what your gender identity is. The importance of it is whether you believe not necessarily this part of it, but when you start getting into other gender identities, like even the non-binary one, whether you believe in all that or not, it's important, especially me as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, to understand the perspective of other people, whether you believe in it or not. It's kind of like when it comes to politics, I don't ram my political beliefs down someone else's throat. I got no problem having a civilized debate. I got no problem, just telling you what I think, and then listening to what you think. And if we can agree to disagree, that's okay. I'm not going to sit there and tell you you're wrong. I'll tell you, I may not believe in what you believe in, but I'm not going to tell you that you're wrong. And so that's where, when it comes to understanding it, it's crucial to try and help people to know where they're coming from, to try at least to know where they're coming from, especially if you're a business owner and you're trying to get your team to go in the right direction. Number 7, after learning about the different types of gender expression, what do you think about which form of gender expression best describes how you prefer to communicate, and what are the benefits of striving to incorporate a more androgynous communication style? So, I see myself definitely as masculine, but also as androgynous. Like I said, I don't mind telling people how I feel. I don't mind talking about myself. It's sharing my story, things like that. It's being androgynous. That's the second part of this, is striving to incorporate a more androgynous communication style. Where the benefits of it help you relate to people faster, basically. Because if you're, I use my wife as a good example. There's certain things that she would be considered, she likes to do that, are feminist, but she loves to fish, but being able to play on, I say, both fields, maybe a bad way of saying it, but it helps you relate faster to more people, and that's going to help you as far as networking and things like that go. Number 8, describe a time in which you felt like your communication or a relational partner's communication was influenced by a dichotomous thinking. So this is with my daughter. Right now she's 17, and it is either the best thing in life since sliced bread or it's the end of the world. Trying to get her to take a step back and say, hey, there's a couple different ways you can do things. No, it's Dad. I got to do it this way. I was 17 at one time, and I just kind of step back and smile. She's going to have to go experience that, and one day I'm sure we'll look back and go, yeah, there was, you were saying something. But that's one way that I'm dealing with it right now. Number 9, describe a time when you felt like someone's communication toward you was influenced by one or more of the types of prejudice listed. This one was actually pretty recently, so many people, I'm a business owner, but I am in the process of selling my business and getting out. That's the whole reason I'm in construction management at Sanjay right now, is I'm looking to continue into that career field. So I did go on an interview about a month ago, not quite a month ago, with a heavy civil engineering company, and it was for an assistant project manager position. And they told me that they were worried about me being set in my ways and having too much experience, and that the candidate they were looking for was straight out of college. Even though I'm in college, I'm not straight out of college. But the candidate they were looking for was straight out of college and without any already set in place, set in stone, expectations, mentalities, things like that. Basically, they're wanting someone that's younger, moldable, that they can bring in, isn't going to have already predetermined how things should be done. And I was like, man, that's the first time I've ever. Basically, I'm too old for this position. So, too inexperienced for the position. So that was one way. And last one, are you someone that would feel comfortable talking to or read the narrative? So in the narrative, she's talking about, she's learning multiple languages. Absolutely. I would, if I saw she was, especially if English isn't her first language and she's trying to speak it, take your time. I've gone to other, especially Latin American countries, try to speak Spanish. My Spanish is not good. But when they see that I'm trying, and when they step back and come on, give it a go, let's go, I appreciate that. And so I would definitely try to show that same appreciation to her and make her as comfortable as possible. Thank y'all for watching. See you next time.